Hello friends, Adam here with FED. Today I want to talk about which Fire Emblem game you'll probably like if you like one particular aspect of Fire Emblem or one particular aspect of Fire Emblem the most. And really I want to get your opinion on these thoughts. I want to know in the comments what your favorite part of the Fire Emblem series is, and then which game is your favorite. They don't have to really apply to each other. I just want to see if there is a correlation to the thought process that I've had. So now I'm going to go through. I have five different categories for Fire Emblem that I think cover most people's enjoyment with the game. If you have your own, please share them. I would love to hear your thoughts. But I'm really just trying to distill what makes Fire Emblem fun for people to play. Why do people enjoy it? And I understand that I personally find gameplay the most interesting. Yeah, and like the maps, the battles, all that stuff. I find that the most interesting myself. And I understand that because you guys watch me, you might feel the same way. You know, kind of like a bias in the audience. But I'm curious to hear if there's any of you that really grab onto any other part of Fire Emblem more than that. So let's get started talking about these. The first one I think is story. And pretty obvious, Fire Emblem has always been known for its story. I mean, FE1 and FE2, it's pretty sparse. FE3 is a little bit more. And then you get into FE4, which is Genealogy of the Holy War. And many people will say it's like one of the best stories in the series. Everyone loves it. It's so good. If you like FE4, you probably just love stories. But in my opinion, games that if you are really looking for a good story, and that's like your favorite part of Fire Emblem, you would probably like Genealogy of the Holy War, 3C776, Path of Radiance, and maybe Echoes, maybe Shadows of Valentia. The story is good. More than anything, though, it's just presented really well with good voice acting, really good art, and it's just really pretty overall. But that is the story section to me. Next, to battles and like maps and all that kind of thing. Definitely FE5. I think FE5 has great maps, especially in the first like 2/3 of the game. The end of the game gets a little tedious if you don't just warp skip everything, but I feel like the game is designed for you to warp skip stuff, especially when they start giving you units that can just warp from base, like Sloof or Shrove, however you say his name now, or maybe even get Sias and stuff. And you probably have Safi at the point where she can be warping. I don't know. I usually have her at A rank stats pretty quick. So I think the first like 2/3 of 3C776 is like really great maps, really great battle stuff, and that's what's really fun to me. I think FE10 is another good example. Radiant Dawn might have my favorite just like collection of maps and battles in the series. It's really, really good. I wouldn't say I don't think my favorite map or favorite chapter is in Radiant Dawn, but I think the overall package is just really, really good. There are a few stinkers. You know, of course, there's a few that are bad that I think are a little less than fun when I play through it, but those are usually pretty quick and I get to move on to the good stuff. I'm talking part 1 chapter 9 or part 2 chapter 1. These chapters that you only have like 1 or 2 characters, and it's just kind of a pain because it's just hard to keep people alive, and then you just kind of lose if they die. It's frustrating to me personally. And I think the other one, and there, of course there's more than this, but the other one that I think of right away is Conquest, Fire Emblem Fates Conquest. I think Conquest has some, again, for the first half of Conquest, and I mean first half like after chapter 6, so from chapter like 7 to like chapter 16, 17, around there, really good. I think it does fall off a little bit once you get to some of the later Hoshido maps, but overall I think the map design and the battles are really fun and really engaging and really entertaining. So those are my thoughts on like the battles and the maps. The next category is gameplay outside of battle. So gameplay outside of the actual maps and what most people would consider, and in most games, it would be the main aspect of the game. And I think what will come to mind for most people here is like the monastery or the My Castle system in Fates, and then Three Houses, right? I think you can also talk about Awakening, and it's overworld, and there's a lot of the DLC, and it's a lot about building characters and character customization. And I think that also applies to Fates and Three Houses. And then there's the other kind of side of this where it's still gameplay outside of battle, and it's less the character customization and more exploration, which you don't see a whole lot in the series, but you do see it in Echoes and Gaiden, which, you know, Echoes is a remake of Gaiden. So really, they're basically the same, except Echoes really leaned into the 3D exploration stuff, and it works sometimes, but I think overall it's kind of a disappointing inclusion for me. But I thought I would include it in this gameplay outside of battle this kind of grouping. So if you really like character customization, if you really like having things to do outside of killing things, then I think you're looking at Three Houses, Awakening, Fates, those games. But I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. I'm not even sure if that really encompasses everything. I guess you could also include Sacred Stones in that a little bit, just because there's an overworld map, I guess. But overall, there's not a lot of character customization outside of the branch string promotions, and I think the most customizable characters are the trainee units, you know, Ross, Amelia, and Ewan, who can have like 4 different ending classes, or 3, or whatever it can be. So they're a little more interesting, but overall, I think that customization is pretty lacking in FE8, which isn't a bad thing. I personally, some of my favorite games in the series, the characters are pretty static, so I get it. That's fine. All right, next section is characters, and I thought about just lumping characters with story, but I couldn't. It's such a different aspect of Fire Emblem. If you love a colorful, happy cast, or you love a sad, dreary cast, or whatever, if there's just like a particular group of characters that you really like, and that's what makes Fire Emblem enjoyable to you, I would love to know. What comes to mind right away is, you know, FE7 or Blazing Blade or just Fire Emblem. Sacred Stones, Path of Radiance, and Echo Shadows of Valentia, I think all have a cast of characters that really resonate with people and people really like. Personally, I never really saw the appeal of a lot of them, especially FE7, FE8, and a lot of characters in FE9, honestly, are kind of whatever to me. I love Path of Radiance, but I don't know, didn't really get me. I love the characters in Echoes, though. A lot of great ones. So, and I think this is more like supports the conversations between characters and stuff, kind of like the story side of characters. I guess if there's also just like you like the art, maybe really good voice acting on a character or two that you really appreciate. I'm just curious on this one too. If you are looking for character or interesting characters to in your game, which one is your favorite? That's a thought. And then last, this one's kind of a weird one, but I'm just gonna call it like achievement. Like when you finish a map, how good do you feel? And did you feel like you are just like really good at the game? Does this game make you feel awesome? Is basically what it comes down to. And I think Conquest does this, especially in the case of like chapter 10 is the biggest example. That one, you just feel like a freaking champion when you complete that chapter with no one dying. I think New Mystery of the Emblem, or FE12, has a lot of this as well, especially on the higher difficulties. Especially the prologue feels kind of like a puzzle box. And when you figure out how to do it, you feel really good about yourself. You kind of feel like a genius, not going to lie. Kind of see this in Shadow Dragon. I think you definitely see this in Thracia 776. Especially in the late game where warp skipping... Personally, I think warp skipping is really satisfying and it feels really good to pull off. But there's also other maps that when you complete them and you get all the side objectives, I'm thinking like the Manster Escape, get all the side objectives, all the chests, save all the civilians and stuff. It feels really good, especially if you can escape while saving every unit and recruiting everyone. It just feels good. It's awesome. But those are like the 5 categories I thought of. Again, stories, gameplay in battle, gameplay outside of battle, the characters, and like achievement or just feeling good while playing. Are there any other categories you guys can think of? Please let me know. I would be really curious. And please share what your favorite aspect of Fire Emblem is and what your favorite game is. That's kind of important to this discussion. I really want to hear you guys out. And I don't know, I just want to know how you guys feel. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I'm really sorry I've been absent from streams and stuff for the past like week or so. My grandma passed away, so I mean it's not it's not like the saddest thing in the world to me because I got to spend a lot of time with her. She lived in the same town as me the last few years of her life, and she was just her husband died 3 years ago. Actually, it's almost exactly 3 years ago before she died, and it was just a really rough time for her, and she was suffering a lot because she was just really sick. It was hard to see her go through it, and it's nice to see her have it's kind of a release. So I'm just letting you know there was a funeral. I had a lot of family in town, and then Easter and all that stuff. That's where I was. I'm fine. My family's fine. I think we're all happy and good. I think it was a little rough on my dad, but overall, I think he's okay at this point. I think he's coping well, and I think the funeral was a good, cathartic experience for everyone, kind of accepting and moving on. But that's where I've been. I don't think I'm going to be streaming tonight because I still have family in town, but I should be back on the horse tomorrow. I'm going to try to just make it happen because I want to stream. I love streaming. I love just talking and interacting with you guys. You guys are all really cool and fun to talk to. So thanks for watching. Subscribe, comment again. Your favorite aspect of Fire Emblem. Also, what is your favorite aspect of Fire Emblem, your favorite, and what's your favorite game? I would love to know both. And yeah, thanks for watching. Catch you next time.